when the NBA awards take place here in Santa Monica, California, I believe on the 25th of June.
Okay.
The coach of the year will be somebody who was fired.
Probably.
And the MVP will be somebody who was in the part and parcel of missing 27 consecutive threes in a Game 7 on his home floor with the opponent that they've been targeting for months, if not years, dead to rights. There needs to be, in all professional sports, what college basketball has, a most valuable player of the postseason. We've got to have it. And this is a perfect example of it right here. We've got to have another award in all sports, every last one of them. Name it, they have to have it. Because we remember more often than not who won the championship and who was the best player in that championship. And it doesn't have to be the MVP of the final series. It's got to be the MVP of the entire postseason. Because we can't have a situation like the NBA is going to have. It'll be a big night. It'll be a beautiful night. All the stars will be there. And as I mentioned to you, it'll be an international interest. Russell Westbrook was in the top 30 on that ESPN list. LeBron's too. Most famous athlete on the globe. There's tons of NBA players. But they're going to be awarding the highest coaching honor to somebody who got fired and might be the head coach of the Pistons at that point.
Maybe.
In Dwayne Casey. And then James Harden, come on up here, everybody. Didn't see in the NBA Finals. And
he was terrible the last 3 games of the conference finals.
The amount of iron that was hit could make people absolutely healthy in a form of a multivitamin in the entire state of Texas. It was so awful. I can't even express it. And I can't blame, it's not Harden specifically, although he missed some. Ariza was brutal, and he's the one that had the finals experience. Gordon missed some too, and he was electric in Game 5. And looked like he was taking Game 6 on his shoulders, too, for a while. 7 of 44. 7 of 15% against the Warriors. My God. The only problem with my idea of the most valuable player of the playoffs is the initials. You can't have an MVP award. Can't have that.
College basketball does the MOP. Yeah, most outstanding player.
I have a problem with that, too. It's a mop. A mop?
Yeah. Well, LeBron's been the mop.
He has been.
In the NBA this year.
Right?
100%.
And nothing. He may have nothing to show for it when it's all over.
Yeah, because they don't give out Finals MVP to the team to the guy that loses.
And we're also assuming that when we run back Warriors-Cavs another time, no Kyrie on this team. Jeff Green and J.R. Smith, they're going to have them. They got to have Kyle Korver making shots, and Kevin Love's got to come back from his concussion,
right,
running like a deer and not making any mistakes, and defensively cohesive against this team, the Warriors, that just took an incredible shot from the Rockets and won the last 2. Handed the Rockets their only back-to-back losses in the playoffs.
It seems improbable, but we've seen LeBron do the impossible before.
Perfect example. Last year, Russell Westbrook was the MVP of the season, but lost in the first round against the Rockets. So who would have been last year's MVP of the postseason?
Kevin Durant.
2 years ago, when Steph Curry won the MVP but lost to LeBron in the finals, Curry was the MVP of the season.
Right.
But LeBron would have been the MVP of the playoffs.
Hands down.
Okay. And I think we would remember that more than those two. Let's go further back even. Although Westbrook did have all the triple-doubles in its most recent. But let's go a little even further back. Steph Curry was the MVP of the 2014-2015 season and beat the Cavs in the finals. But that was when Iguodala was the MVP of the finals. Would you could have made Curry if you're using, again, the playoffs as a whole.
Of the whole playoffs, right.
Durant was the MVP of the 2013-2014 season. Remember that very moving speech that he made, bringing up his mother. Kawhi Leonard was the MVP finals that year. Could have gone with him or Duncan, or, hear me out here, in that playoff campaign for the Spurs, there was a Game 6 overtime win that they had against Oklahoma City. Boris Diaw scored 26 off the bench in that overtime game.
Oh, wow. I thought you were going to say Danny Green.
No, sir.
Wow.
And then LeBron James won the MVP the year before that, just going back 5 years. He could have easily been the MVP. He was the MVP of the finals, too, beating the Spurs with the Heat. By the way, in that decisive Game 7 win, he had 37 points and 12 rebounds. Now, you could sit there, okay, he had Wade and he had Bosh, too. Wade had 23 in that game. Guess how many points Bosh had in that Game 7?
Not many.
0. Bosh had 0 points in that Game 7. Battier had 18 off the bench, if you remember that big Game 7.
That's right.
All right, let's go to football. Brady was the MVP last year. If there was an MVP of the postseason, it would have been Nick Foles.
Correct.
And well-deserved.
Well-deserved.
And we'll be remembering Nick Foles forevermore.
We will.
Brady we might remember because he was a 40-year-old MVP. Year before that, Matt Ryan was the MVP of the season. Brady would have been the MVP of the postseason. Year before that, Cam Newton was the MVP of the season. Made it to the Super Bowl. Von Miller would have been the MVP of the playoffs because he had those sacks of Brady in the AFC Championship game.
Von Miller single-handedly won Denver the Super Bowl.
The year before that, you didn't even remember Aaron Rodgers was the MVP of that season. Tom Brady would have been the MVP.
Yep.
Would have been Russell Wilson if it wasn't for that pass at the end of the football game. And then the year before that, Peyton Manning was the MVP of the 2013 year. The MVP of the postseason wouldn't have been Malcolm Smith, who was the MVP of that Super Bowl. It would have been Russell Wilson.
Yeah, maybe, or Marshawn Lynch, maybe.
In Major League Baseball, last year, Altuve was the MVP of the season. You know what would have been the MVP of last year's playoffs? It would have been Verlander. I would have chosen Justin Verlander.
I think you're right.
Year before that, Mike Trout was the MVP of the American League. Didn't even make the postseason. We're just going American League here. The MVP of the postseason, either league, would have been Schwarber, I bet. Do you remember who the World Series MVP was for the Cubs? You don't even remember that 2 years.
Lester?
No, it was Zobrist. Ben Zobrist.
Ben Zobrist.
Yeah. Huh? The MVP of the American League in 2015 was Josh Donaldson, the bringer of rain.
Oh, okay.
But they lost to the Royals. Salvador Perez was your World Series MVP, but Eric Hosmer would have been the MVP of the postseason. He had 351 in that postseason. Mike Trout was the MVP in 2014. Madison Bumgarner would have been the MVP of the postseason. And then Miguel Cabrera was the 2013 MVP.
His Triple Crown year, right?
Yes, but he would not have been the postseason MVP. That would have been your World Series MVP.
Yeah.
No. Mariano Rivera would have been your postseason MVP. No. Big Papi. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying?
It's a great idea.
There's so many different ways you're remembering the postseason more than the regular season.
Right.
And you're giving an award at the end of a season that should be given to somebody when I know that a regular season means enough for somebody. I get it. But the ring is the thing, is it not?
And I get that these leagues want to have a big fancy award show at the end of the season, but like you said, the award for James Harden now isn't going to mean anything.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.